Tonight's program, we're gonna be having Shetan Noir offering us information on weird travels in Michigan. She's a cryptologist researcher, or cryptozoologist researcher. Let me get that right. And she's gonna give us a virtual adventure tour as she presents weird travels in Michigan. Shetan specializes in paranormal travel destinations and legend trip investigation. Her research includes Michigan's own Dogman and Nain Rouge. I think I pronounced that right.
Yes.
And Bigfoot and ghost hunting. Shetan is currently the lead investigator for the Michigan chapter of the North American Dogman Project and also runs the paranormal investigation team of the Michigan Center for Unexplained Events and Phenomenon. Without further ado, I take it over to you.
Well, thank you. And hello, everyone. And thank you for coming to my presentation tonight on Weird Michigan. Tonight's subjects will be weird, interesting, unique places that we have here in Michigan that you don't really find anywhere else in the United States. So I hope you guys enjoy, and please save all of your questions for the very end. Dennis will be able to tell me if there's any in the chat or if anybody live in-house has any questions. So without any further ado, let's start our journey. So the first event I'm going to talk about, or destination, is actually the Nain Rouge Parade. And that happens every March, the third Sunday of every March. There is a parade that starts where Traffic Jam and Snug used to be and marches down to the Detroit Masonic Temple. Now, they do this because, for one, the Nain Rouge is a local Detroit folklore legend, but he's also kind of become like the anti-hero of Detroit, meaning he's a bad guy, but everybody kind of cheers him on for what he's doing. But the Nain Rouge has a deep history with Detroit, being associated with the riots, with different catastrophes that have happened within Detroit's history. So why would we celebrate him? Why would we give a parade for him? Well, originally the parade was to chase the Nain Rouge out of town. But after people at the parade had been talked to and educated by different folklorists, different cryptozoologists, different paranormal researchers, there's now kind of a embracement of the Nain Rouge because people realize that maybe he wasn't trying to destroy Detroit. Maybe he was trying to warn people of the impending dooms. And so now he's kind of celebrated and there's a parade. But if you ever want to join a uniquely organic Detroit experience, the Nain Rouge Parade is definitely a event to check out. Like I said, it's the third Sunday in March every year, unless there's a shutdown like with COVID. But people show up wearing red and everybody just follows the Nain Rouge as he parades through the streets. And then there's a big after party at the Detroit Masonic Temple. So I welcome everybody to join us next year. So the next destination I'm going to talk about is Hell, Michigan. How many times have we heard in our life somebody has said to us, oh, go to hell? Well, I doubt if they were talking about Hell, Michigan, but you can give them this really great reply if you ever have somebody say that. You can say, yeah, I've been there and the ice cream's really nice. Because one of the few buildings that's in Hell, Michigan, besides the post office and a putt-putt golf area and a bar, is a ice cream shop that's actually located in the same building as the post office. So you can get a variety of different treats on your ice cream, and you can enjoy that while you stroll around the very small touristy type area of Hell, Michigan. which is not really huge, but if you're looking for just an adventure to go out to on a nice fall day and enjoy the countryside and the fall foliage, definitely head out to Hell, Michigan. Sometimes they have different festivals there going on. They used to have the Hearst Festival there, but it became so popular and so big that literally the roads were jammed. There was a traffic jam in poor Hell, Michigan, which there's not that many streets and roads going into Hell, Michigan. So it became so overcrowded that they actually had to move it to the Fowlerville Fairgrounds. So that became a very popular event for Hell, Michigan. And they still have some smaller ones that go on, but it's a unique setting nonetheless for any festival or event. Now, on to some folklore and superstition, and possibly it is a haunted location. Now, the Paulding Lights are up in the upper Michigan side of the UP. The UP is half Wisconsin, half upper Michigan. And the Paulding Lights actually run from Paulding, Michigan to Bruce's Landing. And it's a little bit hard to get to. You kind of have to know where to go. There is a casino that's just down the road from it, and most people in the area know where to go for the Paulding Lights. But you have to pay attention when you drive down the road to it. It does dead end. There are guardrails. Do not go past the guardrails because there is a very steep valley that you will come across that is a huge ravine, and then it goes up almost mountainous is the valley going up into the hillside. Lots of trees. It's very wooded. It's very wild out there, but a lot of people show up there every night all year round to watch for the Paulding Lights. And as soon as it gets dark, you start to see them. And they are orbs of light that come bouncing down the opposite hillside through the trees, and you can clearly see them. Now, the last time I was there was about 10 years ago, before I had my current smartphone, the one where I can, like this smartphone, I can zoom in on the moon and take pictures of the craters. Yeah, back then I didn't have that option with that phone. I could maybe zoom in to like a sign, 500 feet down the road and maybe get a nicer picture, but definitely could not get a close-up shot of the Paulding Lights. I would like to go back there and see what I could get on video with the new cell phone camera that I have. Now, some people will say that the Paulding Lights are actually headlights coming off of a highway, but there have been so many people who have disproved that, because these lights that you see bouncing down the hillside are random, but they are just never ending. And there's not that many cars that go through the UP, especially at night, especially along that stretch of road. So is it the railroad brakeman's ghost walking the railroad, shining his signal lantern and trying to warn everyone? Or is it another phenomenon? We will never know, but it's certainly something interesting to go check out. Now, if you like the UP, you like to go up there and visit, There's also very near there is Bond Falls, which is a very beautiful waterfall. It's a tiered waterfall that you can walk alongside of as you come up or down the sides of it, and it's a very pretty waterfall. So it's also something that you can do while in that area. So it's definitely a interesting thing to go check out here in Michigan is our mystery lights. Now, another wonderful, cool thing that we have here in Michigan is Dinosaur Gardens. Now, this site has in location it's a tourist location, but it's been open since I was a mere child, which is over 40 years. It has improved so much because if you picture way back in your mind the first images you had as a child in your little dinosaur books that you got, these dinosaurs in there look just like those characters. Now they do have some more modernized dinosaurs like the one that you see in the picture here, but it's a very interesting trail that you walk on. It's very well manicured and there's ferns growing everywhere. And then as you come around a corner, there'll be a dinosaur. There'll be a pterodactyl. There'll be cavemen. There'll be raptors. There's a huge brontosaurus that you can go up a set of stairs inside of. And as you're walking around, you're like, yeah, this is the land of dinosaurs. You can definitely see that. The ferns make it really, really appealing for that. Kids really love it. They also have putt-putt golf at this location, and they have fossil dig where you can find little shark teeth and brachiopods and things of that nature. They also have one of those gem shifting waterfalls where you buy your bag of gemstones with sand and everything in it, and you get one of the trays, you go over to the water trough and you wash off your gemstones in there, and you can keep whatever you find. So this is up in the Alpena area and definitely worth a drive up there. And if you have children who do like dinosaurs and they do like fossil hunting, this is a nice area because you can make a weekend of it. You can go to Dinosaur Gardens, then you can go into Alpena to the Bessemer Museum there, and there is a fossil quarry behind the museum that they can find and chisel out their own fossils, but they also have a nice fossil area inside the museum on display. You can also go to the lakeshore there on Lake Huron there in the Alpena area, and you can walk along the beach front, which is very rocky, so you have to be careful, but you can look for fossils there also, and you can find quite a variety of different types of ancient sea life from the Devonian period. So definitely a nice little area to check out if you have any future paleontologists in the works. Definitely they will enjoy it and be inspired. Now, I like to call this spot the mystery spot of St. Ignace. I like to call this the gateway to the UP, because if you're going up to Sault Ste. Marie, or if you're going up to take Route 2 across, you will inevitably drive past the mystery spot in St. Ignace. And they're very much a tourist shop. There's lots of trinkets and stuff like that that you can find there. But it's also called the mystery spot because you will have anomalies, like you'll have two people of different heights stand in the same room and they will appear to be the same height. They can balance a chair or a broom on one end and it stays standing. So, you do the little tour and it's, um, takes you onto all the different displays and you can see how things look and experience it. So definitely an interesting spot to check out. And while you're up there, you can also go to Castle Rock, which is pretty much right next to it. This is also where you will see the Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox um, statues. So right there, you've got a nice little spot where you can stop, get out, stretch your legs, um, release the children from the car and let them go have fun. And the adults can, browse and enjoy themselves too. Now, for our people out there who love manicured gardens and sculptures and statues, I highly recommend you go to Grand Rapids and visit the Frederick Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park. Now, the horse pictured here might look normal sized in the picture, but this horse is actually 22 feet high. He's very impressive. And it's more impressive when you have a human standing next to them. Unfortunately, when I took this picture, I was trying to like wait for no humans to be in the picture so that I could use it for different programs and for photography. And so I don't have anybody in the picture to show you scale of size, but this is a very nice garden. They have a Japanese bonsai garden. They have butterfly gardens. They have an indoor tropical garden. And during the Christmas season, they have where they bring in Christmas trees and they have Christmas trees decorated from all over the world, from different cultures, and it's very pretty. So if you are into sculptures, if you want a nice relaxing day of just walking around looking at flowers, if you're into photography like I am, taking pictures of flowers, butterflies, sculptures, this is definitely a great place to check out right here in Michigan, that you can go and enjoy all of that. Now, you can't be from Michigan and haven't gone to Frankenbooth. It's just uh unheard of. It's like the family vacation destination of at least a day trip that everybody goes on at least once a year, whether it's to Bronner's or the Cheese House or the Village Shops. This, is a uniquely Michigan adventure where everybody's like, oh, have you been to that Christmas store? Well, yes, we've all been to Bronner's at least once in our life. For me, my family loves going up there. They love Bronner's, they love the Cheese House, they love the Village Shops. So we go up there a couple of times a year. And one of the interesting facts that a lot of people don't know about Bronner's is the fact that their electric bill is about $11,000 a month from all the lights and displays that are continuously on in their store. So next time you go into Bronner's, look at everything that is lit up, that's animatronic, that's moving. And just take that all in, because that is quite a dedication to being, a Christmas store, of having that many lights on and running. So probably not the weirdest location in my presentation, but one of the more interesting because of just the uniqueness of the Christmas shop of Bronner's. Now, also a gateway to Mackinac Bridge. You know you're getting close to Mackinac Bridge when you start to see the signs for Seashell City and the man-eating clam. Now, I know as a child, I was just dreading going into the store because of the man-eating clam that they say could grab onto your arm and hold you there forever. Well, the man-eating clam has been dead for quite a while now. He's still there. Um, at least the shell of him is there. And this is also a nice little touristy area that you can stop and get your souvenirs and stuff like that. They probably have the largest assortment of seashells this north of Florida. So it's if you're into seashells, if you're into maritime history or figurines or anything like that, Seashell City, say that 5 times fast, has a large assortment of Great Lakes maritime books, novelties, clothing, stuffed animals, just seashells. They do have some fudge. They even have dried shark jaws. And I know this because I've actually bought a pair of the shark jaws that they had there for my office. So if you're into maritime history, if you love the ocean, if you love anything to do with nautical themed stuff, definitely check out Seashell City. Now, Belle Isle became a state park not too long ago, and it actually has been a benefit for Belle Isle. Before it became a state park, it was actually, you kind of went there taking your chances, and a lot of the DNR people who were assigned out there, a lot of the police officers who had to patrol out there, actually kind of took it as a punishment because it was so overrun with drug use and prostitution and things of that nature, that a lot of people didn't like to go out there. Since it's become a state park, they've cleaned it up a lot. It's regularly patrolled by the park rangers, the state police. It has become a family friendly destination again. Now, because it's summertime, it's even better to go because the Scott Fountain, which we see on the screen here, is actually in full, I don't want to say full bloom, but the water is running in it. So it's a beautiful, majestic fountain. It's very ornate. It's got so many carvings on it. It is breathtaking to behold. And I definitely recommend that you at least go visit Belle Isle because there's the Scott Fountain there on the I believe it would be the south end of the island. And then there is the aquarium, which we see here in the middle. It's not a huge aquarium by any means. It's not like the Shedd Aquarium in Chicago, but it is the oldest operating aquarium here in this part of the country. It's been around for over 100 years, and they have a large assortment of different kinds of fish in there. So it's definitely something to go experience and enjoy. Right next to that is the Anna Scripps Arboretum, and you have to check with the Belle Isle websites, because sometimes they're doing work on the different buildings, but the Arboretum is also very old, and they have an assortment of different types of plants growing throughout it, from tropical to subtropical to arid desert to rainforest and everything in between. So it's a nice place to go on a chilly day because it's nice and warm in there, and you can just relax and roam around with the plants. And then right across the street from the Anna Scripps is the Coast Guard Museum, which also has a lot of maritime history and artifacts. There is also a nature preserve on the island with our last remaining population of miniature deer. And there is a lot of, they have the deer in an enclosure so that they don't get hit by cars anymore. But they also have a lot of different types of native Michigan reptiles, amphibians, fish in the nature center for viewing purposes. So you can make a day out of going to Belle Isle. And if you like architecture, if you like decorative elements in architecture, it's a sight to behold, any one of these buildings. But if you go in the morning, you can go to each destination and finish off by afternoon and have seen a lot of different things on Belle Isle. Now, this is a seasonal location. I'm sure it's beautiful in spring and fall, but it is spectacular in autumn when the leaves start to change colors and go into their golds and reds and oranges. The tunnel of trees up in Emmett County are just spectacular. It is a gorgeous drive. It is out in the country, and it would probably be a day trip for most of us, but it is beautiful to drive through, take in the surrounding countryside, maybe stop and get some pumpkins, find an apple orchard. You can definitely make a very fun fall outing out of going up to see the tunnel of trees and driving through it. If you want to take a screenshot of the screen, this is the best way to get to it. It's off of it's through highway, US Highway 31 or US 31 near Bayview, about 4 miles east of Petoskey. You can take county roads C-66 and C-77 into Cross Village. So this is definitely a fun afternoon drive that you can just go and enjoy yourself. So the next location is actually Colon, Michigan, which is the magic capital of the world. And the reason they call it the magic capital of the world is because that is where Harry Blackstone Jr. or Sr. grew up. He lived. That's where he came back to after traveling the vaudeville circuits and performing with the circuses and on different stages. And he is actually buried in a cemetery outside of Colon, Michigan, which has become the vaudeville cemetery, there are a lot of old vaudeville performers and entertainers that are buried in this cemetery. But there are also still working magic shops in Colon, Michigan, and they do a magic gathering, not the card game, but an actual festival. I believe it's the beginning of August, where people from around the country, around the world come. And this is a tiny little town. It is a tiny little town, but people come there to watch magic acts, to listen to lectures and seminars and workshops on how to perform magic, to, stage show standards. And as you walk around the town, you will notice two things. One, there are top hats everywhere. There are rabbit figurines and sculptures everywhere, but you will also see playing cards on the streets, on the sidewalks, and they are just left there for people to collect. So if you like magic, if you are interested in learning magical acts, I highly recommend going to Colon, Michigan. The magic shop that's there that puts on the magic festival is Abbott's Magic Shop, and they usually put up a schedule. I believe they should be putting it up within the next couple of weeks, and you can see what the schedule of events are for the Magic Week. But it's a city right here in Michigan that you can go check out. Now, if anybody loves reptiles, I love my reptiles too. I have a pet gecko. Certainly not something as big as this, but one of the cool places that you can go and see live alligators, crocodiles, caimans, snakes, turtles, tortoises, all manners of reptiles is Critchlow Alligator Sanctuary in Antlers, Michigan. Just down the road from Battle Creek. They have live alligators. They have from itty bitty little hatchlings all the way up to, I believe, a 14-foot alligator. They do presentations several times a day. And you can also buy feeder meal plans for the alligators, where they give you a tray with different size food pellets on it. And you can go around to each of the different enclosures and feed the different alligators and crocodiles and caimans that are on display. Now, in the spring and in the fall, they do something interesting. In the spring, they have the spring release, and in the fall, they have the fall roundup, where you can go pay, I think it's $10 per person, and you help them transport the alligators indoors or turtles or whatever. They show you how to handle them, and you just walk about 100 feet from the ponds into where they house them indoors. Or during the springtime, you take them from the housing outdoors into their enclosures. It's a really cool opportunity if you have children who are really excited about reptiles. It's really cool to handle a little alligator. Now for myself, when I did it, I actually had one of the bigger guys. I had a 3-footer. That was from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, because he was able to, I had him like this, had, his head against my shoulder, his body across my body, and then his tail kind of wrapped around me. Yes, his mouth was taped shut for my safety and his, but they show you how to hold them. And I was able to carry him into the housing area for them to put him in his wintertime enclosure. So it's a very cool opportunity for you to actually handle a live alligator. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but here in Michigan, we actually have a site that has petroglyphs. It is up in Cass City, Michigan, at the Sagalak State Park. Now, thankfully, they have chosen to preserve this site. It's now under a pavilion and it's protected from the elements. They have a gate around it, and there's usually a docent there to give presentations and tell people and explain to people what the different carvings on the rocks are. Also at this site, there is a little trail that you walk and a rope bridge that you go over, but there is a old oak tree there that went to seed after the Chicago fires had burnt through Indiana and up into Michigan and had burnt a lot of our state forests. This oak tree went to seed after, and this oak tree is so big and round that 4 people cannot stand around it and touch their fingertips together. So a very interesting site. It's really cool to go and look at the Native American artifact that is left with this petroglyph, this sandstone rock that has these petroglyphs carved into it. Very unique and something that I urge people to go look at, because this is a part of our heritage and our history here in Michigan. Now, not far from the petroglyphs is Turnip Rock. This is up in the Thumb area. Now, Turnip Rock sits out in the water. It's about 20 feet from the shoreline. But to get to Turnip Rock, you have to kayak out to it. And the reason you have to kayak out to it is because the land that actually borders up to the lakefront is private property that you're not allowed to go on, and you don't actually want to get out of your kayak when you go out there, because they have state police that stand up on the bank and they take pictures of everybody getting out of their kayak and touching Turnip Rock or climbing on it. And when you get back to where your kayak, because you rent the kayaks to kayak out to the Turnip Rock, when you get back to the boat launch, there's another sheriff's deputy there waiting to give you a ticket. So you want to stay in your kayak. You want to keep your life preserver on. It is, they say that you can do it in under 4 hours. Me and my friend and her son were able to do it in under 4 hours. And that was with a 15-inch chop of waves on the lakefront. But it is very cool to kayak out, and it is huge. It is a impressive rock formation that just sits out in the water, and hopefully we will have it for the next century, but you never know when a storm or a winter icing over is going to take its toll. So if you get a chance or you like to kayak, this is a really cool.
Can you hear us, Shetan? I think we
Destination to go
have the
kayak out to
connection.
and see it in person. Oh. Oh. Let me check.
Yeah, I think your connection was dropping for a minute there. It sounds like
Okay.
you're okay now.
Okay, it seems to be good now. So we've been to the Christmas store in Bronner's. We've been to Hell, Michigan, but now we get to do something a little bit more cheerful, and that's go to Christmas, Michigan. Now, this site is up in the UP also, and the town is decorated with giant cutouts of Santa, Mrs. Claus, elves, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Most of the buildings in town are painted green, red, white, giving it a very holiday, very festive appearance. There's lots of different little stores in the area and eateries. So if you want to say, oh, I've been to Christmas, then this is a wonderful place. One of their biggest things is people will mail them their envelopes for their kids, and they will put on it from the North Pole, Christmas, Michigan, so that the children actually think that they're getting a letter from Santa Claus. So you can actually send them up a package with all of your holiday Christmas cards in it, each one individually, stamped, addressed in its envelope, and they will postmark it from the North Pole, Christmas, Michigan, so that your child can still believe in Santa and have the experience of Santa sent them a letter or a Christmas card. Now, the next two that I'm going to talk about are actually closed, but they were a huge part of my childhood, and I think many people's childhoods here in Michigan. So Deer Acre Storybook Land, the property is actually still there, and the facade of it that you see here in the picture is still there. And this was up by Pinconning, Michigan, and was a family destination because inside of it, they had different areas of the park. I want to call it a park, that were different storybook nursery rhyme themed. So they had like Old Mother Hubbard and the dish running away with a spoon and things, that were nursery rhyme related, and they had different animals in each one of the enclosures. Now it was called Deer Acres because they also had a herd of deer there that you could go in and feed. They had a small railroad there, and you could go on a ride around the park and see different statues and stuff like that they had that were themed. I think they had dinosaurs for a little while. Last time I was there was I took my godson when he was, I want to say he was 10 or younger, and that boy is like 38 now. So it's been a while. There's been talks of them reopening it at one point. I certainly hope that someday they do, and they can take it back to the wonderful setting that it was before. I think that we actually need that in Michigan, for something that, families can do and go and see. And the last one on my list is one that most of our young or our older generation will remember, and that's Irish Hills, Michigan. This used to be the family like getaway for everybody to go to. They had prehistoric forests, they had the stagecoach stop, they had fun center, they had a couple other ones, but these were the three that were most popular with my family. Now, somebody did buy most of the properties and is trying to turn it into a Halloween world, which I think is awesome too. I love Halloween, as you can see by my background. So the properties are still there, and people who have like snuck into the properties say that even though the dinosaurs are kind of rotting away, they're still there. And some parts of the stagecoach stop are still there, and some parts of the fun center are still there. So they're still there, but we're hoping that when they do create the Halloween world or the haunted world or whatever, that they make it so that it's also family friendly and spooky. You know, you don't always have to have scary and terrifying and blah blah blah. You can make it spooky and fun, kind of like Huckleberry Railroad does for their Halloween setting. So does anybody have any questions about any of the destinations I've talked about tonight?
Anybody in the audience?
Do the Pauly lights come on all night, or do you have to be there at a certain time of night?
Did you hear that?
It is,
Okay.
it is, as long as it's dark, you will start to see the lights bouncing down the hillside, and they go all night long, all year long. It doesn't matter if it's snowing, if it's summer, if it's raining. As long as it's dark, you will see the lights.
Oh, thank you. And we had another one?
Okay, that
Have
one
you
I
been to
didn't
all
hear.
of them? Have you been to all the places, or have you just been to some of them and heard of the other ones?
No, I've been to every single one. One of my standards as a travel writer is I won't write or present about a place that I have not personally been to. So I have been to all of these locations.
That's cool. I was kind of wondering when I saw your dinosaur thing earlier. I'm like, I remember my wife mentioning as a kid going to the
Yeah.
Irish Hills because her grandmother lived in Sturgis. So they travel US 12 about halfway between here and Sturgis around there. And we've passed by there a couple of times before her grandmother passed and saw the remains of it. I think they closed down in the mid 80s to early 90s when we were teenagers at the time. But yeah, it's kind of sad. I hope they do bring it back. And apparently nearby there, I guess there's a supposedly an area where gravity kind of flows uphill or something, I heard.
Um,
It fits in with the weird thing.
yeah. Yeah, I do know that Dinosaur Gardens is open. I was there 2 years ago, and it was quite busy there. So I think a new family has taken it over. But yes, it's open for business, and
Oh,
you
cool.
can go to it.
Let me see if we have any questions in the chat here. Doesn't look like it. Let me make sure there's nothing I'm missing here. Doesn't look like it. Any other questions? Oh, one more.
Okay.
What do you know about Eloise?
Oh, so Eloise is actually in one of my other presentations on Haunted Michigan. I can tell you that it is haunted. I have this confirmed by several different paranormal investigators, but also by a good friend of mine who is retired, but he used to work for the sheriff's department that had to patrol there, and he and his partner more than once had to go through Eloise, the building, because an alarm had been triggered, and they had to go floor by floor, room by room, to make sure nobody was in there. They got out, made sure the doors were locked, got into their patrol car, started to drive away, and got a call back because the alarm had been tripped again. After the second time of checking it, they were like, nope, nobody's here. It's just the spooks. But that was like the dreaded patrol that you had to do that night. And it was kind of like the punishment patrol that you would get stuck on.
We had another one. I think Ryan was raising his hand. Let's see what he has to say
Okay.
online. Okay. Let me just allow him to talk here really quick. He's online.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, speaking of the activities that have the putt putt golf and the kayak, like as far as the kayak thing goes, would there be like canoeing areas there and rowboats and all that stuff? And
Yeah, you can. So there's a kayak rental area there to go out to Turnip Rock, and they will let you launch and help you launch your kayaks, canoes, rowboats. There's actually a channel that you launch into, and that feeds you out into Lake Huron. As long as your boat is safe and capable of handling Lake Huron's water, then you should be okay.
cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess that's it. So I wanted to thank you very much for spending the time with us today, Shetan. It was very interesting.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you everyone for coming to the presentation. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you really enjoyed it, please feel free to contact your library and tell them you would like more presentations from me. Like I said, I do have one on Haunted Michigan that does talk about Eloise and other haunted destinations here in Michigan. So I would love to present that for you guys in the future.
I think we might have had you once before, maybe somebody similar who was doing a haunted Michigan thing back before COVID or right when it first came. So maybe it was somebody else.
That was probably somebody else, because I've just started offering my haunted Michigan one just this year. So
Oh, okay, so it might have been the Michigan Ghost Hunters group or whatever that we had. They might have came in person for our Friends of the Library monthly program. Back around 2018 or 19, but yeah, well,
okay.
no. All right, well, thank you. Have a good evening.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.